Welcome back to Shabby Shack Studio, friends, as we put together our Bujo pages for August. Can you believe that it is already August? What is going on? Where is the year gone? Anyway, I'm having a fabulous time this month. I have been looking at all of my friends' beautiful travel photos online, and for some reason all those lovely destinations like Italy and London and Greece have been flashing up on all of my screens. And it just feels like the universe is trying to tell me something. So I think that probably me, just like a lot of the world, is that we've been unable to travel for so many years with the terrible COVID situation. And now that the airports have finally opened, our airfare prices are just so crazy that it's really something that we kind of are putting off till another day. Anyway, the travel bug has well and truly bit me this month, and so my journal pages are just chock full of anything and everything travel related. So as you can see, I started off with a watercolor cover page. I've been so crazy in the studio, it feels like I've been missing my watercolor time. So I do apologize if you are here because you love the watercolors. I promise I will be getting back to them just as soon as I can. But this was just a quick snapshot because I've actually got like an hour of creating with you this month, so I didn't spend ages on this watercolor and just took a few snapshots of it. And it was really just so much fun to create, and it kind of came a little bit from an actual vintage postcard that you will see later on in the coming pages. But it was just me kind of recreating it my way. So it was fun playing with the bricks and the wash and the windows and the little street stall that you can see in the front of the building, a little flower cart, and even some shapes of people. So people have been something I've been creating much more of lately. So if you follow me on socials, do say hey and let me know that you also follow me on my channel. So I have been actually concentrating and doing a bit more with people lately and really enjoying it. But getting back to this page, this was a sweet watercolor that I've created on my favorite Mont A5 watercolor pad. Wherever you go, go with all your heart, which is really whether we are staying at home and we're going to work, or we're doing the school run, or we're retired and, you know, wandering in the park and living our life the best way we can. Whatever it is, I hope that you do it definitely with all your heart. Anyway, I did turn the page over. This paper is always fantastic. I don't get any ghosting. It really is lovely. I love the perforated top. I love even the little black binder, a little spiral at the top. It's really kind of cute when I'm filming and staging an image just so it looks pretty, and hopefully it inspires you. This is the Marte Discovery book. The pages are 190 GSM, so they're lovely and thick. You get 30 sheets in this book and it's A5, so it's perfect for my journal. I just add just a tiny little bit of trimming to fit it into my journal. That of course I've created, so if it's something that interests you, I will pin that for you below. We do create our own journals here on the page together. So you can see me just dabbing on some colour. I just wanted it to make a little bit of a splash. Added a little bit too much of the sepia. It was a little bit dark, so I just rinsed my brush off, laid it against the paint and just reabsorbed some of it. So never be afraid that you're going to ruin what you're creating. Be creative and maybe choose some of these inexpensive products that we favour here on this channel, because it just frees you up a little bit to feel less stressed if you do make a mistake, or even that you have to be a little bit creative to fix something that you particularly didn't necessarily love at first. So you can just see me coming back in, mixing a bit of colour, taking some of that depth out. I'm going to come back while that's wet on wet and add a bit more colour as well. And then I'm going to add some pencil. So with my colour palette this month, I just had a red, white and blue theme a little bit, because I actually do like a passport stamps, imagining it's the inside of my passport. And I do share some places that I have travelled with you. But I also wanted to share that the those beautiful greens and terracottas, ochres, browns that are also showing in the building, because for me they're very much the colour palette of my travel as a whole. I am going to add some lovely music in the background too, so I'm not talking to you for an hour or talking at you for an hour. Let me know if you like the music or if you prefer more chat, because I can always ramble on a little bit more and share my little bit of my process and a little bit of my background and my day and my studio life with you as well. I'm happy to work with you if you want to hear my voice. I can talk a bit more if you like. Anyway, so I've just added a little bit of depth there with the brown, coming back in and adding a little bit more of that beautiful green. That is the sap green. The brown, or that lovely terracotta, is a mix of the burnt sienna and the sepia. If you've been here a minute, you know that you can see my palette there at the top. I love to let the colours mix themselves. I do use light colours or earthy tones as a whole, and they do work so beautifully if you just let them do their own thing. But I do use the yellow ochre as well on those top three colours, and you can see that on my palette above. And then below with the blue and the reds, I actually use the Prussian blue, and then again some of the Paynes grey, because obviously the Paynes grey looks so great with the blues. And then the red I used was Red Deep. Okay, and my paints are the Van Gogh series, so they are the professional series paints because I just love them, and I don't want them to fade before I want them to fade. Okay, and then I have let that dry. I didn't come back in and add too much depth because I knew I wanted to come back in with some colour pencils. And these are a watercolour pencil that I've had for ages. I didn't decide to add water, I just left them exactly as is and just had a bit of fun with them. So these are some of my favourite Staedtler watercolour pens. The green is a moss green, there's a sepia. I do go in, you'll see me use the blue, it's a true blue. Just checking those colours for you. I've got a couple of browns in there for you as well. One being gold ochre, such a good name, see? Burnt ochre. The red is the geranium, which is just beautiful. I do use a little bit of the black just for, you'll see me using that more really in the weekly spread, so I used some pencil there. I didn't actually use markers this time. I just thought it would be fun to mix it up. I do add some vintage ephemera, so if you're particularly keen on having a mixed media piece, this really is the beauty of creating our own pages. We can just add whatever we like. So I actually found these fabulous little vintage postcards just wandering around at a garage sale or a yard sale, and found them, and they were such a fantastic little find, and I actually do share one of those on a page for you in just a moment. You can also see me adding just a little Eiffel Tower in here. So once I've added a whole lot of colour pencil just to kind of add some depth and tone and a bit of impact, a bit of punch to those colours, I just thought, you know what, I need something little here, and obviously red, white and blue. I have a white paper, so I thought, you know what, I'll just put a little landmark in here. I actually have not been to Paris. Well, I tell a lie, I jumped on the Euro-rail and travelled through Paris. At the time we didn't have time to stop, which is terribly sad, and we do want to go back and do France, do it properly, and really look at those beautiful landmarks. I want to sit and have a picnic, maybe near the Eiffel Tower, more than go up it. I would just want to sit and absorb and soak it all in, and wander along cobblestone streets and little alleyways. And I don't know about you, but when I travel, I love to have those days that aren't scripted, and just to wander with my loves and really find the city that isn't on the tourist trail. And then last up, once I've drawn a few little details in for my Eiffel Tower, and honestly this is so easy, anyone could draw an Eiffel Tower, I just added that little postscript, that little stamp that I had. So these are just bits and pieces. I will link some things for you below, but that was just a wooden block set that I found ages ago, and I just love the stamps that are in it. And that little postscript stamp, I've actually been planning to add stamps to this kind of beautiful mixed media that we do for a while now. So let me know below if you think that that would be something that you would like to see. Okay, so then I have turned the page over onto my beautiful black cardstock that I always use and that I adore. Again, we'll link below. And I decided to do this little script which is off this postcard itself. So literally the words will say postcard with just lots of pretty scrolls, and I'm using my favorite white gel pen for that one, which is a Poplar Pilot pen. And just had a little bit of fun. I have actually penciled that so you can see that in the background, just to get the little scrolls and things right. And I wanted that to be offset slightly. And then I decided to add my postcard in, and then I'm going to come back and actually I won't tell you. Come back and stay tuned and you'll see what I do. Now that the word postcard is looking cute as a button, I've come back in with just some tracing paper. So this is actually super easy. You could even use baking paper or something like that if you had it available. And I'm just going to come back in and I'm going to trace some of the details at the bottom. Because when I started playing with my postcard and how it was going to sit and some of this beautiful vintage book paper that I have, and I'm going to backtrack slightly. When I create my journals by hand, quite often I'm finding some lovely old covers and a lovely old book that is definitely looking the worse for wear. And when I remove the papers in order to use the covers, I want you to know that I don't throw that away. And that's because here in the studio, we really do focus on budget. But not just that. History means a lot to me. It means a lot to me, not just from a family point of view, but from everything I do. I don't think that we should throw away a piece of our history or anything really that could be reused. Let's just think more sustainably and more about our poor Mother Earth who's struggling under the piles of rubbish that we discard every day. So I actually create wax seal stamps. Well, these ones aren't wax. I make them with paper craft. They're fantastic for weddings and things like that. If it's something you would like to see, you can actually see them in my store, and that's linked below. But I just have an affinity with things that are vintage and have this lovely history. And as you can see, this postcard that I picked up, and it's got some age spots on it. But I just simply trimmed one of those pages and laid it over with this beautiful little postcard, and it has a little story on the back of each one. So there were actually quite a few in the set, and they were just thrown on a table at a garage sale. So there's just not really any regard for them themselves, but they're just so beautiful. The detail is so fantastic. So I thought I'm going to layer that onto my paper, onto my cardstock, and I'm going to, so you can just see me measuring the edges, just kind of center it. And then put a little marker there. That way when I tape it in place, it isn't going to move and it's not going to be crooked and drive me bonkers. And then I'm going to layer the detail that it covers back over the top in ink. So this was just something that you can create and make up as you go. This is just some double-sided tape that I picked up from a craft store. So it's super cheap, $2 for like a big roll. And then I'm very carefully just going to remove some of those strips and lay this using my guides. So you can see me carefully looking at my guides and making sure I'm not going to stick it on crooked, because to tear it back off will probably tear my page so badly and ruin it. And then see how easy that is? Just tear them off as I need to, lift them off, and that one's stuck in place. And it's cute as button. And I wasn't sure if I was going to use this as kind of my cover page this month or what I was going to do, but it's just an idea I had and something I wanted to add. So I've layered some carbon paper on there, picked up a pencil, and I'm just going over the scrolls now that have been hidden by that little layering of vintage ephemera. And I'm going to remove the carbon paper when I'm done and go back over it with ink, just a little interest and a little bit of fun. And it's really so easy to do, and you can buy carbon paper virtually anywhere. If you don't have carbon paper, you could always scribble with pencil on the back of the tracing paper or the baking paper you've used, and when you lay it back down and go over it, it will still transfer the pencil onto that. So you can see the pencil there. I'm just going through and just making sure my details are really clear before I add ink, because obviously can't wipe that off that beautiful vintage postcard. And then I'm going to come back in with ink and add in that detail. And there you can see my postcard page, and I've added that one just for no other reason except that it's pretty, and it goes with my theme beautifully. But my journal pages aren't just about keeping track of things or holding me accountable for my days. My journal pages are about my love of being mindful and spending a moment with myself to spoil myself and create some art. So I hope that your journal pages are just like that too, and they're a focus on whatever is on your mind or in your heart or happening in your life at the time. I'm turning my black cardstock over. Once again, this is a lovely thick cardstock. This is about 240, 280 GSM, it's lovely and thick. I have no issues with ghosting or anything with this one as well. So I simply turned that one over and drew up some little boxes for my month at a glance. So my month at a glance are little boxes, little spaces for the days. They're going to be approximately 3 centimeters square, which is just over an inch square if you're on the other side of the world. The ones at the top are 3 by 1 centimeters. They're just narrow and they're going to have the days of the week in them. I skipped through the boring parts on this because it's just a matter of just going over those with my white gel pen. And I added just a little city skyline at the bottom. I would recommend, if you're doing any circles like I did here, the London Eye, probably using a guide, because mine's a little bit wonky. It doesn't bother me, but it may bother you. And probably if I did it again, I'll go back and I'll kind of touch that up with the black pigment liner and just kind of make it look a bit rounder where it's looking a little bit flat or a little bit wonky. But it's up to you. You could just use something like a sticky tape roll or something that you had on hand. My month at a glance are always quite fun to create. I like to have a box for each day of the week except for a Saturday and Sunday, which I always create with a diagonal line to share the space. And then quite often mine are created on two different kinds of cardstock. In this case, this is now the same cardstock but in the white or the off-white. And then I'm going to follow that sweet little skyline along. Now, I haven't gotten too specific. There's just some little buildings and some bridges and things in there. You could do whatever you like. You could add theme it to be just one town if you wanted to, or just one city, or even a specific spot. It's completely up to you. But I just did it as a really simple, fun way to keep the theme going throughout, not make it too plain. And then I actually decided to come back with those pencils and I color this one in, so this one is actually, the skyline becomes black at the end. And then I've put my month there on the side, in August. Following on, my days of the week and my boxes will remain the same. It's important to note too that my months always run on nicely from one to the other. I don't finish, May only in May, and June only in June, etc. August doesn't have to start on the 1st. Mine runs smoothly over from one to the other, which is really exactly how our days and weeks normally go. We're normally so flat out and busy that the new month is upon us in no time at all, and we're definitely planning the week day to day, not month to month. This sweet shading has definitely become one of my favourite ways to finish off some freehand lettering. It adds a little bit of shading and a little bit of impact and drama without having to colour in all of the letters. So it's, for me, it's quite fun. Something that definitely anybody could do. I just turn on its side and pull the pen toward me and just line after line after line. And I don't mind if it gets a little bit out of lines, and I don't mind if it doesn't go perfectly from one side of the font to the other. In fact, I prefer it when it doesn't. It's that perfect imperfection that I love. And here you can see that I've picked up my black watercolour pencil and just given that sweet skyline a little bit of shading as well, just to add a bit of punch, a bit of drama. And then I have turned this page over. Once again, it's the same cardstock. Cannot see the shadows from the lines or anything from the other side. It's fantastic. Again, so sustainable because we're not needing to have a new page and not really using the one we have well. And this one I thought, you know what, I want to do all these little postcards. I want to do like all these little postage stamps. And I imagined this was inside my passport, a little bit more fun, but still inside my passport. I called it my travel diary, but you of course could call it whatever you wanted to. You could add a really nice quote in there. And I just did little images that, you know, reminded me of places I've been. So these pages are really fun for me to create quite often in front of the TV when I sit down with my family in the evening. I love to sketch. I love to just unwind from my day. And my mind comes up with the craziest stuff when I just let it do its thing. So this is what became once I'd sorted out what my theme was going to be. And this is what became. I've got a Union Jack there for London, Eiffel Tower for Paris, because, you know, of course. Toledo, I've got some little castles and a moat, and my daughter actually, what's the word, did the, where they go across the water with the little, I can't even think of what it's called now, but she did that, and she sailed across the water across from one side to the other, from the castle from one side to the other, and had a ball, and then ran across a bridge and went back and did it again when we were on holiday in Spain. So that was fantastic. And then Brooklyn, of course, and we went across Brooklyn and had fantastic pizza and went on a tour, and it was fantastic. It was a freezing cold day, but it was fantastic. And then, of course, some bunting. I wanted to keep with that kind of festival and party theme. And if you've been to Barcelona, you know that the alleys are strung with bunting and lights and all kinds of stuff, which is just so beautiful. It's just all those little details and these cobblestone streets and wandering along and finding fabulous little stores and places to eat. Oh my God, the food. When I travel, that's what we love to do. We like to just take it as it comes and enjoy the days and the funny things that happen, and the things that we stumble upon that aren't planned are always the things we are talking about for years to come. And then doing my little the postage stamp, that was actually kind of fun when I actually started thinking about how the scalloped edge on the stamp is harder to draw than you think it is. So I just did some random scallops. They're not measured, they're not done with a special ruler or anything like that. They're completely freehand. And then all I did was use my little transparent ruler that I love so much and used it as a guide, so my scallops kind of finished about the same place. And then I came back in and added some additional borders to some and left it off others. It was just completely freehand, most of it, and really I just enjoyed this process. So I've shared pretty much this whole thing in real time because I thought, you know, in case you're thinking about somewhere you've traveled and how would you sketch or draw that, so you can see that it's totally not overthought. I don't have an image there that I'm copying off. It's something that is in my head, or but you could, of course, you could Google something and just to give you an idea of how it might look. But then completely just enjoy the process. I mean, if you don't like it when it's in pencil stage, rub it out. And then when you ink it, just give yourself the freedom to let yourself do what you do. And if there's a line there, we call it a sketch. We call it a doodle. We just call it part of the process and part of the fun. And I keep telling you, I really do create these pages with you. So you can see me just doing some soft curls and leafy kind of cloudy shapes there for the trees. And, you know, I'm going to come back in with some pencil and add a little bit of blue for the water and things like that, so that it kind of helps it along understanding what the image is. But I think it's pretty cool. I think you can see that it's a little castle and there's a channel or a river flowing through, and there's just some shrubs and trees and things in the background, and all that kind of fun stuff. And I don't think it needs to be so exact and so perfect that it doesn't need to be lifelike. And anybody, if I can draw that, you can draw that. I mean, you can truly see how simple that is to sketch and how imperfect my thought process is when I'm creating it. And I have just remembered what it is my daughter did. It was the flying fox. There you go. I knew it had to come to me. They actually had this fantastic flying fox set up on this, and I think it was a couple of €. It was so cheap. Pretty much all the boys did it, and my daughter was, I think she was like 14 when we went to the trip and we did Toledo, and she was like the first one up there going, I'm doing this. And they hooked her up, and then they had like the little wheel that runs along the wire, and she held on to that and flew from one end of the castle to the other over that bridge or moat or river or whatever you want to call it. And then because she was young, they said, hey, you could do it again if you want for free. So she jumped down, sprinted back across to the other side of the bridge and jumped straight back up and did it again. And to this day, it's one of the things she talks about and having loved the most. And that's the thing, see, that was one of those days when we wandered around and we just took it easy and we knew where we were going to go, and then the rest we just took as it came. So we did not plan this, we did not know it was on. It was just so much fun, and me as her mum, it was that pure joy and watching her having fun. And we bought her some castanets and she was running along and making music and having a ball, and they're the memories that you just never forget. Now, what did I tell you? Didn't I tell you I was going to add some colour? So this is again, you can see these pencils have been favourites since I was a little girl. And they are so small, and I should probably get one of those fancy little pencil holder things. So if anyone knows a good place for me to find those, link it for me below. I'd love it if you did, because these pencils are going to be used until I can no longer sharpen them. I can guarantee it. So this is the geranium, like in the red. The pale blue is so tiny. It's so funny when I'm trying to use the pale blue. It's called True Blue, and they're all a Staedtler. Oh no, they're a Faber-Castell. Sorry, they're a Faber-Castell pencil. What am I thinking? They're a Faber-Castell pencil, and they've been one I've had since I was a little girl. And they are a watercolor pencil. So if you are using watercolor paper, I'm not here. You can just add in some water with those and probably create something that was really, really beautiful. So here you can see I've got my red, white and blue theme. There you go, my travel diary, my bunting and my Toledo and London and Paris and Brooklyn, and you can probably see too the light changing in my studio as I'm working on my pages, and I am blessed to have such a lovely spot. And if you have stayed with me until now, the travel diary and this one are probably two of my favorite pages, because I've been wanting to create a weekly spread that was a little less uniform for ages. And this month's theme was perfect for that. So I started to draw in some of those cute little apartments or houses, little cottages, strings of light and terracotta pots and bunting. Of course there's bunting, it goes with the whole theme. You will see that like these are like little gardens, and the cobblestones flow between all of the little vignettes, all of the little sketches that I've created, and they kind of define the days of the week as well. So when I turn this page over, I actually did the other one as well, and I fit 4 days. So I've got 4 days on this one: Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and I did Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So I actually fit 4 on the other page individual, and they still sat in really nicely. So this does depend on what your week looks like and how many things you've got to write down. So I kind of use the little cobblestones this month or this for this weekly spread as like bullet points. So I'll probably have to do a little bit of an abridged version of how much detail I normally add. It's completely up to you. You could add additional notes, or you could just do a 1 day to a page and do a pretty design if you want to. Again, these are something you can create in front of the telly at night, so they are just for you. I don't share all my pages, and I don't create them all before the month begins. I really do let myself just do that as the month progresses, and I enjoy doing this in the evening. I don't fall asleep in front of the telly as soon as I eat because I'm exhausted from a huge day, but it lets my mind slowly close down and slowly finish for the night. But I'll enjoy a cuppa and just to play with my pencils and markers and my imagination. So let me know if you give that a go and if it works for you. Once again, this is in real time, so this is really is the pages and you and I sitting down together and creating. So you could do something similar or something completely different. I've just added some little pots in, add a leaf, add a circle, add a, you know, a strange little shape or a little sketch for the ground, the pebbles. Really, honestly, anyone who could draw this. They're a square box with a peaked roof and some rectangles for windows and some scribbles for flowers or geraniums that would be sitting in the window boxes. I mean, honestly, how simple is this? And if you aren't someone who's really fantastic at lettering, you could use some kind of like a little lettering stencil. You could use a stamp, or you could just hand print it and let yourself just enjoy the process and not overthink it. But honestly, anybody could sketch this. It's so simple. Didn't I tell you I was going to come back in and add some coloured pencil in? A little bit of light for my little street light there, some browns for the window, for the doors and the terracotta pots and the roof, and some bunting, and how cute are they, see? And just some simple little numbers underneath the days of the week, so easy. Okay, and this is actually my first page for it, so not a page, it's a page keeper, and I'm just doing it last, which I actually did this PowerPoint. Oh, I didn't do my page keeper, so weird. So I've just come back in, I put August on this as I don't normally put that on my cover page, and then I thought, you know what, I'm going to keep it simple, and I'm going to add some little bunting to that. And this one is great because I actually make this so it sits a little bit higher in my journal so that it denotes the beginning of a month really easy. It makes it very easy for me to flick through. And my journal is now looking quite thick now that we are at the 8th month for the year. How did that happen? And so but lots and lots of pages, and actually this is a long video this month. I didn't realize how many pages I did. I was having so much fun. I was thinking, wow, I actually did quite a lot of pages. So I hope you have enjoyed 56 minutes and 12 seconds it will be when it's finished. So I hope you've enjoyed this month. Let me know if you like a shorter video or a longer video, but I did say that my thing for this year was going to be that to free myself up and let myself create and not be so conscious about how long the videos are. So hopefully it uploads well and YouTube plays nice. And hopefully you had a good time here with me today. I always like the long videos when I'm watching somebody else's because I'll watch them while I'm in the gym, having a run on the treadmill or something like that. But if you prefer a shorter video, do let me know and I'll try to keep that in mind for other videos I create. I actually have loads of plans for some watercolor cards and things like that, and the Christmas shop is officially opened again on the website and is going to have so many more lovely things added this year. And yes, I just said the C word. Anyway, I had such a wonderful time with you today. I hope that you enjoyed being here. Don't forget to hit subscribe if you like to see what I've created first. You want to add a little bit of support, and which is always so lovely and gratefully acknowledged. Thank you. I will have a bonus printable up on my website as well for you, and all the links and things for you below in case that's something that you would like to find. You can of course find them at your local craft stores as well. I just add the Amazon links because it makes it easier if you're wanting to have something sent to you, and you tend to be able to find the links from all over the world if you go that way. My website will be linked for you below as well, so if that's something that you would like to go and have a peek at, that would be so wonderful. And before I go, I just wanted to say once again, don't forget to hit share and subscribe, and thank you so much for being here. I will see you again soon. Bye.